Hi, welcome back to my channel. This is Raymond Guzman, and today it's a little bit different. The topic that I'm going to talk about is anxiety and panic attacks. This is a very touchy subject, I think, because a lot of people out there are too embarrassed to openly come out and say, you know, that they suffer from this, or they don't want people to know. When I was going through my spiritual awakening not too long ago, maybe about 4 years ago, and I had my near-death experience. Right before that, I had suffered a lot of panic attacks, and they were every day. And I think a lot of people, science and the medical, medical doctors sometimes try to diagnose it as a mental disorder, but it's not a mental disorder. It's basically a chemical imbalances. That's how science would like to describe it, as a chemical imbalance in the brain. But it's, unless you've ever had a panic attack, a lot of people will not understand what it feels like. My first panic attack that I ever had was when I was in college. I was enrolled part-time, and I was working full-time, and so the stress, I guess, from all of that, and again, I guess I was already, I was born with the spiritual abilities, but it kind of I put them to the back burner, I guess, to maintain a what people would call a normal life, because you have to work, you have to go to school. At least those were my goals. And I think it was my freshman year of college, and I got very, very stressed out, and I started having panic attacks. And how they felt like for me personally was that I felt like a tightness in the chest, like I couldn't breathe even though I was breathing, hyperventilation at times, sweaty palms, kind of shaky. You feel like you're dying, essentially. You think you're having a heart attack, and that's what a panic attack or an anxiety attack feels like. And I would go to the emergency room, and the doctors would be like, "You're perfectly fine. We did blood work. You're not having a heart attack." I had diagnosed me with angina, with anxiety, but they didn't want to give me any kind of medicine because I was very young. The onset of my panic attacks or anxiety was, I want to say, right around when I was like 18, 19 years old, and that was my first run-in with panic attacks. And it's very, it's very frustrating because, a medical standpoint, there's not any kind of diagnosis that the doctors can give you. You have to kind of work through that. And it wasn't until like 32, and it was a few months right before I had my near-death experience, and basically during that time frame, I had panic attacks everywhere, and they got so crippling where that I couldn't even be in public. If I would go to like a store, or I would get out of the, walking towards a store, I would feel my legs like jelly. Literally, like I could feel that, the vibration. It was like a vibration within that, and then within the back of my spine, I would feel like a vibration. And then I would get just like a tightness in the chest, like you couldn't breathe, and you feel like you're dying, and it's essentially you're not dying. And again, I would go to the emergency rooms, and the doctors would say, you're perfectly fine. It's an anxiety attack. You just need to kind of work and not stress yourself out, because stress could be doing it. But at that time, I wasn't really stressed out. I didn't know what was causing it, because I wasn't stressed. I mean, that wasn't the answer. So I think doctors try to sometimes, they try their best to try to help people, but it's sometimes, they make things worse, and sometimes they just don't have an explanation for things. I remember one time when I went through the with an anxiety attack to the hospital, the emergency room, and the doctors there, or the nurses rather, they mentioned something, it was paranormal. So I think a lot of people are kind of open to that. But really and truly, a lot of people that are going through anxiety attacks, I believe they don't understand that it's not a medical, but it's more spiritual. It's your soul trying to awaken, your consciousness trying to awaken to the world around you. But yet there's resistance from your, from the social conditioning, and you are resisting, not accepting who you are, perhaps not accepting, or not being able to be more fully yourself around certain people. When you kind of restrict yourself, or you have spiritual abilities, but you're kind of too embarrassed. A lot of this, it can be other situations as well in your life. All of this can bog down your chakras and cause you to have massive panic attacks and anxiety attacks, and it's very crippling. You can cry. You know, there was times that I would get very emotional and just withdrawn, and things that I used to find happiness that would make me happy wouldn't no longer make me happy. It's very difficult, to say the least, you know, when you go through anxiety attacks. And now that I am 35 years old, I don't go through them anymore. I've learned to control them. It was all about my spiritual gifts and on the path. So when I was around 31, I started, you know, accepting who I was, my gifts, and, you know, no one can prepare you for, you know, being a healer, a psychic, a medium, a clairvoyant, whatever you want to call us. You know, we're spiritual beings. That's what it boils down to. And no one can really prepare you for that. But I think a lot of people, you know, once you're able to really tune in and know exactly what is the root cause of that, it can help you lessen these panic attacks, and you won't feel so afraid or isolated. The best thing to do is, if you are having a panic attack, is to relax, take some deep breaths, and don't, because a lot of times people hyperventilate because you think that you're not breathing, and you're actually breathing faster than what you're supposed to, and then it causes the onset of an anxiety attack. One thing that I did find helpful was that basically I'm a blood type O, so I found out through my doctor that blood type O's have a lot of natural caffeine already in their blood system. I'm not going to get technical, so I don't know, but that I do believe. And I would, at the time when I would have these panic attacks, I would drink a lot of coffee, maybe 2 cups in the morning, a 24 ounce or 32 ounce of soda water at midday, and then another, you know, soda water, like a 12-ounce can at nighttime, and, you know, during the day, maybe some tea. I love tea, and all of that was too much caffeine overload, and that was contributing to my anxiety attacks. So for like a period of about a year, I had to stop taking any kind of caffeine and just switch to decaf coffee, you know, caffeine-free soda water, and then certain times I just cut it out completely. And surely enough, a lot of my anxiety went out, but what really helped me was understanding my spiritual abilities were there, and not to be afraid of who I was, and to meditate. Meditation and prayer, during that time, you know, I turned a lot to my faith. I was always a person that was, you know, very strong rooted in my faith and whatnot, but that actually helped me get through a very difficult time in my life. You know, and now that I'm able to stand here, you know, in front of you and just say that it's going to be okay. If you're going through anxiety or panic attacks, don't feel like you're isolated, like it's the end of your world, because you can have so many depressive thoughts. You can fall into depression. It is going to be okay. You just have to believe in yourself and not really feel ashamed if you're going through this. There's always somebody to help, even if you feel like you can't really open up. You know, a lot of y'all would benefit from like keeping a journal and writing down, you know, things, getting things off your chest, because a lot of times people don't want to open up to other people because they don't feel comfortable, or they feel like they're going to be judged a certain way. So if you feel like that, keep a journal and write down things, you know, and document it. It's a form of releasing that you know, energy that you have bottled up. But yeah, I really think that there's a big misconception when a lot of people are having anxiety attacks or panic attacks. These are more related to a spiritual awakening that you're going through, a spiritual ascension. Your consciousness is expanding. You could be shifting between the 3rd or 4th dimensions, going into the 5th dimension, and it's like essentially your old soul is like dying and you're being reborn again. And so it definitely can cause you to have panic attacks. So if any of you out there are going through panic attacks or anxiety attacks, whatever you call them, just know that you're going to be okay. It does get better in time. You have to control it. You have to find out what is find your blood type, you know, things that you shouldn't be eating for your blood type, you know, kind of a process of elimination. But on top of that, you know, kind of relax your mind, practice meditation. I know that when I did a lot of these anxiety attacks, I could go out back into public like I used to, you know, because I wasn't born with anxiety attacks. I mean, from a child, I never had anxiety attacks. It didn't happen until I was like close to 19, 20, and then again when I was 31. And so it depends on what, you know, they can come back again. Like mine had gone away after about like 21, 22. went away completely, and I didn't have panic attacks again until I was like 31. So if you are a person who suffers from panic attacks, know that anything can trigger it. It can come back, but it's totally manageable, and you are stronger than that fear that you feel, or that fear that that you have. But know that it can feel like, a lot of people, I think that it worsens because the people around them think that they're hypochondriacs. This is a person who thinks that they have every kind of medical situation, or they're making it up because they want attention. A lot of people think that. I know for myself, being in that stressful work environment when I was around 19 or 20, it was just so overwhelming, and the people around me really didn't understand, what was going on, but they could tell something was going on. But I'm so thankful, that I can be like an advocate for people who have panic attacks or anxiety disorders, and know that it's not really something that you're not mental, you're not crazy. Most people go through this. There's a lot of people, but not very many people are going to come in front of a camera and openly discuss it or openly talk about panic attacks or anxiety disorders. So I want to thank you so much for tuning in. If you did like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Also be sure to follow me on Facebook and Instagram, and be sure to check out my other videos if you are new to my channel. I have, spiritual topics that I cover, theories, conspiracy theories, some people would say. I have product reviews. I do a full array of things on my channel, and I just want it to be an environment where you feel very open. If you have a suggestion on the type of video you would like for me to do, I'll be more than happy to kind of do that video. I'm looking always for new ideas, new content to keep my my viewers happy, and also give them some variety. So thank you so much once again. Blessings and love and light to each and every one of you, and thank you so much for watching.